Welcome to the 10X podcast. Conversations with B2B marketers about what truly matters to building scalable, sustainable, and substantial marketing growth. This episode is brought to you by Aamplify.Marketing, experts in B2B website design on HubSpot CMS. For more, visit Aamplify, that's Aamplify, Aamplify with two A's, .marketing. In this throwback to 2020 and the first wave of the pandemic and how it impacted B2B marketing communications and demand generation, this is a panel discussion that was hosted by Jamie Worrall from Aamplify and was with Jennifer Johnson from Cordia, Millie Vingris from Xero, and myself as CMO for Certus, the region's largest IBM business partner. Please sit back and enjoy this episode on virtual engagement using HubSpot, evolving event strategies to remain connected.
Hello and welcome everyone. It is a pleasure to have you join us. I'm Jamie Worrall, B2B tech marketer and client partner here at Aamplify. Today is episode 1 of our B2B marketing dialogues. And if you're watching this episode, it means that you are likely charged with transforming revenue generation and customer engagements. You're managing the programs to generate demand and build pipeline, or you're responsible for executing those programs in market. So no matter whether you fit into the strategist, the marketing manager, or the digital marketing maker category, you're in the right place. So throughout this series, we'll cover topics spanning virtual engagements, intelligent interactions, and how to transform revenue generation on platforms like HubSpot. So with that in mind, our first episode today is a panel discussion discussing virtual engagements and the impacts the past 4 months have had on marketing functions across APAC and how we're needing to pivot to remain connected to our current and future customers. So joining me today, I've rounded up 3 highly experienced peers to offer up a New Zealand, an Australian, and a global perspective on how our engagement strategies have been impacted. So let's kick off with some introductions. We'll begin with our Kiwi marketing manager, Jennifer Johnson, Group Marketing Manager at Cordia. Welcome, Jen.
Hi, my name is Jennifer, and I'm responsible for all elements of the marketing mix for Cordia Aura and our cloud consultancy, emerging technology partners. And so essentially, I'm responsible with keeping our brand visible in front of our target market, finding ways to tell our story, and offering opportunities for our team to build relationships and meet people.
Oh, thank you, Jennifer. That's awesome. So next up, our Australasian perspective. Welcome, Samuel Williams, GM Marketing at Certus.
Hi there, good to be with you. I guess I'm responsible for driving Certus Solutions strategy in relation to marketing in Australia and New Zealand, and that's primarily around IBM systems integration and digital transformation. So it's the full spectrum in terms of marketing mix, just like Jennifer, except it spans Australia and New Zealand.
Awesome, thanks, Samuel. And finally, our global perspective. Welcome, Millie Vingris, Marketing Manager at WorkflowMax.
Hi, I'm Millie. I'm the Marketing Manager at WorkflowMax. One of the best parts of my job is about getting to know all of our customers and sharing their stories of success, business growth with our wider community. And I love seeing how our product helps make busy people's lives easier and, to give them back some precious time. And I'm really excited to be here.
Fantastic. Thank you, Millie. Okay, so before we get started with our panel discussion today, I just wanted to let those viewing at home know that our series will be available on demand, and there'll be also a number of episodes available live. So please stay tuned for updates on our event hub. And when you're on our watch pages, please feel free to ask questions via our live chat when you see it there, and do engage with our interactive polls too. It's really critical, that piece, because data captured from there will enable us to tailor the topics we discuss in our future episodes. Before we get into the panels, let's cover off what we're seeing out there in terms of the data. So this slide here is really talking about what it is that the likes of HubSpot and our partners and other organizations are seeing over the last 4 months, and how that relates to currently what we're doing. So on HubSpot, as an example, a lot of the customer data that's coming through is showing that there's a real uptake in the chat bots, as an example. So we're seeing that people are using this, or the sales function are using this as a really great way to engage with their customers and prospects online. So it's worth thinking about how that functions moving forward. We're also seeing that the quantity of how we're communicating in market may need to be looked at as well. So we're seeing, particularly from a sales standpoint, that the sales function over the last 4 months has been really heavily engaged with sending more and more communication. So we're seeing an increase of sales emails heading out of around 36%, but they're actually getting fewer and fewer responses. So sending 36% higher, but engagements and responses are 19% fewer. So that's really telling us that there's a real shift, or there's a real need to actually consider how it is that we are engaging and what channels we're using to engage with our customers and prospects. Obviously emails moving down. So, and if we're thinking about the quantity of information, how are we best ensuring that our customers have the relevant communications from us at the right time? So at this point, we're seeing an increase of marketing teams sitting back and evaluating what type of content they're actually putting out there, and making sure that that content is useful and valuable to prompt conversations and to help in this environment, because their customers are looking for help, and so we need to think about how we can offer that. So that's, I guess, what the data is showing us. And now let's head into our panel discussion. So Jen, I think we'll start with you. So look, having responsibility for Cordia's marketing and making Cordia's marketing and promotion happen, what's been the impact of COVID on what you've had planned for the first part of the year, and how have you addressed that?
Well, yes, a key part of our marketing activity plan has always been around face-to-face events, and pretty much within 2 days they all got shut down. All our events, any events that we're hosting customers at, anything that we were involved with from a sponsorship point of view, basically gone. And that's pretty scary as a marketer when 40% of your activity is you're unable to do it and you're unable to deliver. So really quickly we had to think, how are we going to demonstrate our capability and provide opportunities for the team to still connect and meet people? And we had to turn rapidly to a digital solution, which was a series of virtual events that we called Talking Tech. So within a space of about 4 weeks, we developed, what it was going to be about. We designed, executed, promoted, and went live with our first event. And it wasn't only sort of just to promote Cordia, but it was really to help our customers through this really challenging lockdown period.
And has any of that process kept you up at night or really surprised you? Unexpected benefits?
Well, it sounds good when you say it in one sentence, as if it was really easy to do. But obviously, setting up a new channel and developing and executing it from scratch, while I'm all up for a bunch of firsts, I have to say it was really challenging for me and as well working from home without having your peers around you to be, what do you think about this, what do you think about that? So what kept me up at night also was early on it was really hard to tell how long this type of marketing activity was going to be disrupted for. So would we go to all the effort of developing a new digital platform only to find 4 weeks later we're all back in the office? But clearly, quite early on we realized this is going to be a longer term disruption. And so obviously the decision to bring it to life was the right one. And I think also what was another question was, was it appropriate? A lot of our customers had been disrupted, and when you're working in marketing, you're very careful that you don't want to be, for want of a bit of a word, ambulance chasing, or you want to make sure that what you're putting out is perceived as coming, from the right place. So we really just wanted to make sure, to gauge that the tone and was really representative of our brand as well as, really helpful, solving problems, talking about issues. But what really surprised me was how engaged our customers were, and how much value we found out of it, and we weren't pushing a commercial message. We were talking about challenges they were facing and issues, practical advice like how to keep cyber secure when working from home. And so that's been really, really positive outcome for us. I think also, what's really surprised me too is, it's just given me a great new channel to play with, for want of a better word. So really it's been a few challenges along the road, but great win-win.
It sounds like it was all implemented really quickly, so you didn't have a lot of time to really evaluate, right? It was just, what can we do? How can we get ourselves set up? And what was the mood internally around doing that? Was there a lot of concern around, is this going to be right for us? Or was everyone really responsive and keen to be involved?
Well, I think, positive. This is a great, our first event was around assessing the risk, and it was great to get hold of, and it was, complimented for the team, reason to get in touch with customers and say, hey, we're running this event. Would you like to, come along virtually, of course. So yeah, and it was actually really great team effort, collaborative team effort with a few people involved, and of course, my technical expert that I relied on very heavily because I was very nervous about what would go wrong. And then as we had such great success from the first one, the momentum been really positive and has sort of helped with that snowball ongoing optimism and enthusiasm.
Awesome. All right, so that's great insight. Thank you. So one for Sam. So what's happened for you? How are your events? What happened to your events and your strategic plan?
Well, I guess this is something that you and I, Jamie, have something in common around. We were actually running a conference on the 16th of March. The date is seared in my mind. It was in Sydney. We had about 120 people registered the week before the actual event took place, and it was kind of fascinating to see how things changed in the space of a week. So what kicked in first was corporate travel restrictions. So it wasn't necessarily government restrictions. It was enterprises saying people can't travel. You must work from home. You shouldn't go to events. So 7 days out, we had 120. On the day, we managed to get 40 people in the room. And then literally the next day, we had to fly back from Sydney to Auckland, and we'd found out over the weekend that we were going to have to self-isolate for 14 days. And then a week later, New Zealand went into complete lockdown. So I guess that was a pretty instructive experience about what was on the cards going forward. Not so much from the point of view of government restrictions, but more around how travel restrictions and corporate health and safety policies were going to have a significant impact on what was possible in terms of running events for the next 6 months or several years, as it's turning out. So I guess it was this kind of gradual, well, like every day something different happened, and I expect for actually all three of you, you go from one day where you have to work from home, and then the next day you find out you've got a school of kids at home, and
Yes.
there was this turmoil of having to juggle all of these things, let alone think about what you were going to do in terms of an event strategy. But it became pretty obvious pretty quickly to us that we needed to pivot to some form of virtual engagement type of event. And I guess that's kind of what we're experimenting with here or experiencing here, is that, pretty soon you started to see panel type of discussions that people could consume at their leisure, because they were having to manage kids and meals and all manner of other things. So the idea of going along to an in-person event just wasn't an option for a long period of time. So essentially we moved to a model where we created this series, which we called the Digital Dialogues, where we had a host and a panel discussion about a particular topic that was relevant for asset-intensive industries, as it happens for Certus. And it's actually been quite successful. But we designed it in such a way that it didn't have to be consumed live. Again, because of the trans-Tasman aspect of things, having something that could be consumed at people's leisure was an important part of what we wanted to incorporate.
Yep. And it has been really insightful, actually, and we'll go into the design aspects of that around the framework of engaging shortly. But it has been, from both of our perspectives, just continuous disruption, but in a really quite incredible way, where you realize how resourceful the marketing function actually is, and the way that things get thrown up in the air, and you just have to respond and figure it out. And this is what marketing departments generally do every day, right? We're always got some kind of need from one area or another of the business where we need to shake things up, and we usually respond really adaptively. So it's been a really interesting program to get off the ground. But again, for you, Sam, is there any other insights there that you just want to cover off, maybe around the sales function, distancing, or?
Yeah, I guess the thing that was most interesting to me is seeing how gradually there's this sort of dawning realization on not just people in business, but friends and family, that the things that we've taken for granted in terms of travel and interaction are going to be off the cards for a much longer period of time than we first thought. So going into lockdown, we thought, wow, maybe it's 6 weeks, and it'll get back to normal after that. It's become pretty clear, day after day, week after week, month after month, that there's going to be a next normal. And we're kind of in the next normal now, where some countries are open, some states are locked down. So Millie happens to be in a state where there are restrictions again. Probably a good thing to talk about. But this whole idea of stop-start, and I guess what it means from a marketing planning and strategy standpoint is that there's just such uncertainty. Like, we've had a number of people in the business say, "Oh, why can't we do some in-person events, just locally?" The risks and challenges that are associated with running in-person events are just too great, in my opinion, at the moment. Be that because of corporate travel restrictions or just the challenges of getting talent into the country. It's just not really an option. Certainly not in the short term, and probably in the medium term as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, would you want to take that risk when you're investing? We all know that with the in-person event, you've got to invest reasonably heavily. Can you guarantee that you're going to have people there on the day? And I guess you'd really need to test that out and to really understand whether or not it would work. But you're right, the risks are quite substantial, and who knows what's going to happen tomorrow. If it's anything like a few months ago, things just move
actually, that reminds me of something in relation to getting speaker talent. In general, what we're hearing is that in-person speakers are shaving at least 25% off their usual fees. So there are some pluses to all of this, which is always a challenge at this end of the world, is getting talent from overseas. You bring them down here. It's a 2-week trip. And you have to stage multiple events to make it viable. In some ways, it's making that thought leadership and that talent more accessible. And it's cheaper too, because you don't have to pay for their travel and accommodation.
Yep. The virtual model really suits that plan around inviting guests where they don't have to travel and you don't have to foot that bill. But absolutely, no matter where that talent comes from, whether or not they're live streaming or just being recorded ahead of time, there still is a reasonably considerable investment there that we need to plan around. So that's kind of a really interesting development over the last few months too. So Millie, let's talk your side of the ditch. So what have you seen with your business and marketing agency customers?
Well, at Xero, our focus has been completely on business continuity and finding ways to connect and support our customers across, multiple industries to help them through the crisis. Oh my God, there's been so much marketing manpower has gone into interpreting the different stimulus packages that apply to each region and then trying to distill that down into easily digestible content, really. Yeah. Early on, we established a COVID customer response team with stakeholders from each part of the business, I guess, all coming together. So there was, product, global marketing, customer support, customer success, content, digital marketing, and analytics all sort of joined together to make sure that we've got one, really niche team that can send the right information out to our regions. We've been monitoring search trends, keeping an eye on nuances that are happening across our key markets. Gosh, there's been so much work done. We've, obviously looked at all of our ad campaigns within the different regions, ensuring that our campaigns and our sales teams are, providing content and support that are genuinely going to help our customers through this period, and being really sensitive to the key things that all of our customers are experiencing right now, or, in the last 6 months. Oh gosh, there's just so much. We've been really proactive with our comms and developing a lineup of on-demand and live webinars across all sorts of topics to make sure that we're helping our customers navigate the storm. We've been working so closely with our partner channel and customers to bring best practice tips and tricks across, like working remotely, best practices to working remotely, setting yourself up. We are a cloud business, so that's obviously a big one for us. We've interviewed and talked with wellbeing consultants. We've tried to share ideas around how to keep your remote teams engaged, right, to managing cash flow and measuring productivity when you're working from home. And one of the biggest things, I think, is being able to facilitate online communities and providing forums for partners to sort of connect, peer to peer, which has been really important because we're all going through this stuff and our partners are going through this stuff. So, I mean, there's just been an insane amount of work done by so many great people within Xero, but always with our customer needs, at heart.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. So what are some of those?
One of the great things that's also come out of this is that, you from a product perspective, you have a roadmap of things that you're going to achieve for the next 6 months, and COVID has obviously impacted on that. So product development has been really targeted towards developing for what customers need right now. So that's been awesome. Cash flow forecasting, in-product prompts, reminders, access to information, in-app data, and sort of helping customers to really get all of the material that they need together to be able to access that funding from the government across different reasons. And I think that's been hugely helpful to our customer base, in particular with Workflow Max, our Workflow Max customer base, who are, mostly professional services like marketing agencies, creative agencies, event companies, architects, engineers, business consultants. What we've seen is that they have been able to adapt pretty well using sort of our apps, and the transition to home has gone, reasonably well, and they're surviving, apart from obviously event, a small segment, event companies have really taken a big hit. I do have a little bit of some research from a recent report that we did, which I wanted to share today. So this is like a quarterly kind of customer insights report that we've been producing. And so across all regions, reduced income has been the top aspect of how businesses have been affected, obviously, by COVID, followed by, less work available, reduced sales, and obviously that equates into less customers and clients. 8% of businesses have told us that they're ceasing operations. This was for the period March to May. So obviously, this is going to keep changing, but 15% of respondents said that their businesses were in the decline phase. But overall, markets that are faring better, Australia and New Zealand, have showed a higher proportion of customers saying that they're sort of thriving, surviving, and actually starting businesses, which I think kind of makes sense when you look at the pandemic in terms of cases on this side of the world versus the Northern Hemisphere.
Yep. Amazing. It'd be good to get a copy of that, if possible, as well, so that we can share that out.
Yeah, sure.
That's really interesting. All right. So look, let's with that in mind, let's think about how we're doing now and what our plans are for the short term. So if we think 6 months ahead, what is it that we can help advise other marketing leaders like ourselves, what they could be doing in their organizations? So Jen, one for you. So short-term thinking to the end of the year, how are you approaching things differently, or are you planning on keeping things more of the same?
Well, I think the biggest thing for us that we've gained from having this digital platform is it's given us greater flexibility. To organise an event, a face-to-face event previously would be a good 4 to 6 weeks cadence. And, we were able to, there was 2 major ransomware attacks to New Zealand businesses within the same week. And so we were able to go, let's do an event and get the invite out and bring it to life within, a week's time. And we had over 75 attendees on the call. So I think that's given us the greater flexibility, and we'll be approaching things with a bit more of a let's give it a go, let's just try this and see if that's of help, of use, and be much more reactive to what's being talked about, or what's going on. So I think that's probably we won't be running probably face-to-face events for some time, but we're sort of just really enjoying playing with this tool.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic to hear. And Sam, how about you? How are you? Where are your plans for the next 6 months?
I guess if we kind of think about marketing from the point of view of supporting sales, and a lot of what we've had to do from a marketing perspective in the recent times and for the next 6 months is to support the salespeople sell at some form of social distance. And one of the things that's kind of interesting about that is that, generally speaking, the salespeople are leveraging existing relationships that they've got. And our attention is now turning to how do you start developing new relationships at a social distance. So if there isn't the option to visit somebody face to face, and because we're a trans-Tasman business, some of the people that service Australia are based in New Zealand, and some of the people that service New Zealand are based in Australia. So there just isn't the opportunity to have people moving between the two countries at this point in time, and certainly not really for the next 6 months. So I guess our attention is turning to how do we support the salespeople form new relationships and build pipeline. Interestingly enough, since we're sharing statistics, something that I saw from HubSpot is that globally, deals won last quarter were up 6%. So while you saw a dip in deals during lockdown phases, overall, year on year, the last quarter saw a 6% increase in deals actually being won. So I think it's a tale of two types of businesses. You're seeing some, as Millie pointed out, that they've shut down operations. Obviously, if you're in tourism, you've got some significant problems if you rely on overseas tourists. But in certain businesses, you're seeing an uptick in demand, albeit small. So I guess those are just interesting things to kind of keep in mind. I think what we've also seen from the polls that I've been involved in, that at least 50% of businesses across Australia and New zealand are in what they describe as being just surviving mode. About 8% are thriving. Things are going great guns, and some 30% are saying that it's just steady.
And Millie, how about you? So specifically, where will you invest over the next 6 months?
Well, we know there's going to be, a renewed focus on technology for our clients and remote working tools. So Workflow Maxes and Xero are both great apps for that. But with our own team, we're actually going through a bit of a transformation ourselves. So we're changing our sales model, reassessing our tech stack. So a lot of the things that we're doing internally, I think small businesses are doing themselves as well, moving off redundant systems, consolidating. We're actually looking at moving off our current sales CRM and bringing everything into HubSpot. So having our sales and marketing functions and our support functions, all customer success functions, all working inside HubSpot, which I think is going to be awesome to help us optimize and bring our teams closer together for a greater impact for our customers. I'd say our focus is relentlessly on our customers right now. Retention initiatives are probably more important for us than acquisition right now. We're still doing that, but it's actually just getting the mix right and making sure that we're serving our great customers that have been with us for a long time.
Yep. So look, we can see, as you mentioned, your customers are doing working through a similar process. What else are you seeing out there in the marketplace?
I haven't actually got any stats for this question, but we are in the middle of doing our own market research kind of survey with our Workflow Max customers. But from the conversations I've been having, I think the focuses for professional services businesses going forward will be around their tech stack and working remotely, obviously, to make sure that they can continue to be productive at home and to protect themselves from any sort of future lockdowns or loss of income. I think that a lot of our businesses are really considering what flexibility means for them and their business and for their teams, and perhaps a lot of our customers will be questioning whether they want to actually pay the dollars towards bricks and mortar rent now, or is there another way to do it? I think there's going to be a laser focus on customer wellbeing as well as the wellbeing of our teams. Oh gosh, trust and value will replace clock watching, I think, is a big one too. You've got the app that you can fill in your time and track your time, and it spits out a report. It's actually around trusting your people to do what they say they're going to do when they're at home, because you don't have your managers sort of sat beside you. And I think this whole fostering online communities and continued support is going to be crucial for all of us. That peer-to-peer connection is so important.
Yeah,
and that support. And I do also think that there's going to be components that we will all carry on. I think this whole point around being connected, like we've all probably tried to reconnect with our customers in more meaningful ways because we don't, we're not sure if they're even going to survive. So we want to make sure that they're okay. And so that sort of sense of connecting with meaningful connections, I hope that will stay with all of us, because I think I myself feel more connected to our customer base and to our team than probably my entire career.
That's absolutely
through a crisis brings you closer together, that sort of messaging. Yep,
fantastic. I hope so. Well, look, this is all really great stuff, and if this is what continues into 2021, that's fantastic, right? But obviously we do need to be thinking future state, and obviously we have a lot of marketing leaders that will be wondering at the moment, what should I be doing? What should I be planning for? What's next? So they're really keen on hearing from us, what is possible. So Jen, given your focus purely on the New Zealand market, is there anything else that you're planning to do that's different for 2021?
Well, I mean, I think obviously COVID-19 has showed us that nothing stays the same for very long. And I think, our focus will always be to try and find ways to tell our story and keep our brand visible and build those relationships and make connections. I can't say anything specifically, but I think this experience has shown us that we'll be embracing digital tactics and digitally led tactics along the way. So I don't think we're going to completely revolutionize, our marketing approach. We're just going to keep really embracing the digital focus for probably as we move into the next marketing year.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so Sam, we talked about risk management before, but now let's kind of unpack that a little bit more. What do you see as the risks been for 2021 for B2B marketers?
Yeah, I think it's kind of this continued uncertainty, and it's challenging when you're trying to run an event schedule or run a conference, for instance, that have budgets of hundreds of thousands of dollars. That I think you're going to see an increased need for conferences, not just meetups or virtual sessions like this or panel discussions, but entire conferences moving online. You've seen some examples of that as businesses have had to pivot. I was involved in something with HubSpot, their annual inbound conference, which was in September. 25,000 people supposed to rock up to a big auditorium in Boston. It's not happening. And I think it's questionable whether something like that might not happen next year at the moment. So I guess it's how do we manage this uncertainty? How do we build relationships at a distance? And how do we plan from a marketing budgeting and standpoint for 2021, where I think you're going to see some places go into lockdown, like Victoria as an example, or clearly what's going on in the States at the moment means it's untenable to do anything in the US. And it is kind of a question of maybe there will be a vaccine, maybe there won't be a vaccine, but it's pretty challenging trying to figure out where to lay your bets for 2021 from a marketing standpoint. So with that said, it's just going to be more digital, more socially distanced interaction. So, and as Millie was pointing out, there are a number of initiatives that are being accelerated as a consequence in terms of digital transformation from a marketing standpoint. How do we start to sell without relying on sales calls from a B2B standpoint? That's the big question that I think we're being thrust into answering from a marketing standpoint in 2021.
Absolutely. And Millie, what are your thoughts there? You have any other suggestions?
I actually think next year is going to be the year of massive change. So we're all just kind of getting used to it now and trying things. Maybe they work, maybe they don't. But I think next year will be when we really start to see the full impact, the global impact of COVID, and also when, a lot of the government stimulus packages might be finished then. And so I don't know what that's going to look like, but I definitely, from my perspective, what we're looking at now is, what are all the new ways that we can serve and support our customers? We're going to be, we've dabbled in chat and text and video messaging, but I think that's going to become really important as we can't, have those face-to-face kind of touch points with events. So, making sure the sales team is available wherever they need to be on the terms of the customer as well. Engaging in new ways and making our budgets go further. We may have smaller budgets. I'm sure we've all got smaller budgets. So it's like, what is the human glue within the team that we can pull together to create some really awesome experiences for people, and innovate? I guess we've got no other choice. We're looking, redefining our segments, getting really clear on our best fit, and niche messaging, making sure that we're going after the right segments, not being one to everyone. I think virtual events will be part of the mix going forward. Always, like there's a line in the sand now. There's a place for face-to-face, but within a face-to-face conference, I think virtual elements will just become part of what we do going forward. Like, as you said, Sam, being able to shop someone in, video someone in and pay 25% less. Like, why wouldn't you do it? Plus, you can reach so many more people globally. So I think that's kind of exciting as well. So, yeah, I think we're all just trying our best to make sure that we look after our customers and keep having meaningful connections with them, right?
Absolutely. So look, thank you so much, everybody. And really, that's a whole lot of insight today for all of our marketing leaders out there. But look, let's just recap on where we're at. So what we've heard today is that there's always going to be disruption, but it's how we adapt to that disruption that really defines the department. So look, situations like COVID throws up all these challenges around health and safety and budgets and funding and sponsorships, and that adaptation that we develop as a team creates a whole bunch of opportunities for how we can ultimately better serve our customers, our current and our future customers, and also engage our sales force. So that's really critical. We've just touched on platforms a little bit, so we're really starting to see that automation platforms like HubSpot can really mean that we can pivot at pace and we can evaluate, the various types of integrations that there may be to enable, channels like virtual to be possible. And with Kordia, as an example, they're clearly demonstrating, as are Certus, that now that they are set up and they have that channel in play, they're able to use that as a primary channel to communicate with their audiences and engage them. But also when things return to normal, that can go back to more of an integrated approach within their programs. So that's all really great insight. And I guess that kind of touches on where we move to next. So with episode 2, we have really worked with the teams to consider, if we take a physical event and we reformat that into a physical and virtual environment, what are the things that need to be considered to make sure that we're serving our customers as best as possible and that we're enabling our teams to engage fully. Plus, we're making sure that the business is getting out of this what they want to, which is, how well is this resonating? How much is this generating in terms of leads and revenue and whatnot? So next week's really interesting, because if you are thinking virtual and you are thinking virtual for meetups, for conferences, for hackathons, for workshops, this is a really good episode to come in and watch, because we're going to be talking specifically around meetups, and we're going to show you how we have redesigned that framework and we have in effect piloted and proven that in market. We want to show you how we've done that, because you may, just like us, be evaluating what do we need to integrate to add live stream. How do we make sure that we get the feel of the mood in the room when there is no room, and what is the statistics that we're garnering from these events and the platforms that they sit on. So thank you very much to our incredible panelists. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here today, and thank you to those that have watched, and we look forward to seeing you soon.